know if you wanted to do our welcome or if you wanted us to do it. It's totally your call.
My apologies. I had a little technical difficulties. Sure. Yeah. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here this evening. I'm Vanessa Adolfson, and I am the Director of Special Ed. I really appreciate the partnership with the FACE office to have this opportunity to host an event. And I would like to introduce Dale and Tracy and turn it over to you two for a presentation to begin. Thank you.
Thank you, Vanessa. Hi, everybody. I'm Dale Cantrell, and I am the program administrator at Laurel Ruff Transition School. I've been in San Juan for 20 years. I taught special ed high school, and then I was a program specialist for several years and a program manager before coming over here about 3 years ago. Laurel Ruff is our school for our 18 to 22-year-old population. So for your students who are in mod severe programs, they would be heading our way after high school. So it's a pleasure to be here with you guys tonight. Tracy?
Yes, I will unmute. I will keep myself muted as much as possible so my dogs don't interrupt and join in the conversation. So if I'm muted, that's why. Just bear with me. Hi, everybody. I'm Tracy Locke. I am a school counselor within San Juan Unified. I'm currently serving as the lead counselor, which is over K-12 counseling, but I did spend most of my time at a high school doing high school level planning and school counseling with Del Campo High School. Right now working on the K-12 counseling curriculum within San Juan Unified, developing a school counseling curriculum which covers college and career readiness, academic intervention, and personal social skills to deliver tier 1 to all of our students, which means every student. I tell all my counselors, every student on your campus that's breathing needs to have this curriculum, which includes all of our special education students at various levels at various schools. So tonight, I'm joining you to discuss mainly just a general overview of the school counseling services that will be available at the high school level, as well as the diploma, graduation requirements, very general, and the CTE programs. So of course, I'm always available for questions. If something comes up after tonight, you can reach me. I work in the College and Career Readiness Department alongside Julia Roser, who is our College and Career Specialist Counselor, and a couple of CTE counselors. So we have a wealth of knowledge in our office. You can find us by our names on the website or just tracy.locke@sanjuan.edu. So happy to be here. Dale, did you want to reach out and ask some questions before we jump in and get started, or?
We had talked about kind of just getting a lay of the land of the schools. Were you going to do that during your presentation, or do you want to just do it right now?
No, I'd love to do it now, just so we can get on the get-go, know who was in the room.
Wonderful. Yeah. So we're gonna, because we're kind of in different orders with our boxes probably, so we're gonna jump around here. We're really interested in finding out what school your 8th grader currently attends and what high school you're headed to. So it kind of gives us an idea of, just in case questions come up, and if we have a heavily populated high school to come, we can kind of angle a little bit more.
Yeah, and you can put it in the chat too. I mean, that's another way.
Absolutely.
I think the chat is turned on.
That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But if we could start with James Moraga.
Yes, hi.
I unmute.
Oh, no.
You're unmuted. I hear you.
Okay, great. I'm Jim Moraga. This is my wife, Monique. We have twin boys, one of which is typical and one of which is currently at Ralph Richardson. They're both 8th grade, and our home school would be Del Campo.
Okay.
We live about 2 blocks away.
Wonderful.
So the trick to ours is that because of COVID, obviously IEPs have been kind of hard to come by. We transitioned up here from Southern California back in late 2019. Oh, well, no.
You don't need to know our whole story, right?
Well,
he's at Ralph Richardson. He was in mild mod where we came from. He started mild mod here, but because of puberty and major aggression, which has been subdued a little, He ended up going through several placements and ended up at Ralph Richardson.
Just before the pandemic.
But academically, it's not a right fit for him.
Okay, great. Thank you for letting us know, and thank you for being first. Yeah, we're looking really because we want to make sure that we can keep things as confidential as we can for families. We'll just kind of go with school sites and for now, and if there are individual things we need to address later, we're more than happy to do that and reach out later.
Okay.
So Christina, you want to go next for me, please?
My son is he's going to Bella Vista.
Gotcha. All right.
He's at Carnegie, sorry.
Great. Anna?
Hi, my name is Anna, and I'm parent liaison of Charles Peck Elementary.
Okay, wonderful. Thanks for joining us. Laura?
Thank you.
Hi,
Hi.
my son is at Carnegie also, and will be going to Bella Vista.
Wonderful. Brian Zimmy.
Hi, I'm Brian. This is my daughter, Marin. She goes to Arden now and will be going to Miraloma.
Miraloma, okay, great, thank you. It says Denise Vasquez. I think there was Mr. Vasquez there before. You able to unmute? Okay, we'll come back to you. Maria?
Hi, my name is Maria Godoy. I'm Parent Family Support Ambassador for the district. I work at Mesa Verde in Lichen, Sylvan, and Kingswood.
Wonderful, thanks for joining us, appreciate it. Tina?
Hi, sorry, I unmuted it. My son is Alexander. He goes to Will Rogers and will be going to Mesa.
Wonderful, Rogers Mesa, great. JD?
Yeah, hi, my son's Jesse, and he goes to Carnegie. He got assigned to CASA, but we've open enrolled him into Bella Vista.
Okay.
So we're still, hopefully, fingers crossed, gets in a BV.
Gotcha, okay, good deal. Joseph? There you are, hi.
Hi, I'm Joe Rouse. I'm Tina's husband. She already spoke for her son. Thank you.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Thank you so much. Irene.
Hi, I'm Irene. My son is enrolled currently at Louis Pasteur, and his home school will be CASA, but something came up, and we missed the open enrollment, but we're hoping to get in Bella Vista.
Gotcha. Okay, good to know. Cora?
Hi, I'm Cora Victorine, and my grandson goes to Carnegie, and he will be going to Bella Vista.
Okay. Wonderful, thank you.
Welcome.
Kimber?
Hi, I'm Kimber Rice. I'm also a Parent Family Support Ambassador with the Family Engagement Department like Maria, and I have an 8th grader at Will Rogers going to Mesa.
Wonderful, thank you. Min?
Oh, hi. My daughter, Anne Trung, will go to Bella Vista next year. She's from Gold River.
Wonderful, hi. Good
Hi.
to And then Cameron, I know you're with Christina, so good to see you. Thanks for being on as well. Song, how about you?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, my daughter is going to Miraloma.
Miraloma, wonderful. Wow, we're running the gamut today. And then one more time, Mr. Vasquez, did you want, were you able to unmute? Okay, that is all right. All right, I'm gonna pass it. This is great. We have.
Introduce myself.
We're able to.
But you
hi,
missed
yes, hi,
Benita. Benita can introduce herself now.
Hi, welcome everybody. My name is Benita H. I'm coordinator of FACE, and I'm so excited that we continue to collaborate with the special ed department to meet the needs of the family. So thank everyone for coming. Mr. Vasquez, does this need translation? Maria, can you find out?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
And then it looks like Teresa, you've joined us. Do you want to let us know what school your son goes to and what high school?
Hold on one second. I'm on a parent meeting on the other one too. I'm on a parent meeting for the school. I'm doing 2 computers right now. Sorry, guys.
Multi-talented.
In the 9th grade, obviously, and he's going to CASA.
CASA, there we go.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sorry, I'm trying to do both.
Great job. All right, so and then Adara's here with us, and she's the administrative assistant to Vanessa Adolfson, and she's helping us run this Zoom. We couldn't do things without her, so thank you, Adara, for being here with us tonight. Okay, Tracy, take it away.
All right, here we go. Hopefully everybody can see the screen. I did share it earlier, and I should have unshared it for introductions. You had to look at small rectangles or squares. This is being recorded. I am going to share a lot of information, and some of you might have heard it before. Some of it might be the first time, and it gets very sticky and particular when we start diving into the details. But it is really very simple. I am an information junkie myself. I like to guard myself with everything that I can to know. So I put it out there to you, and please don't feel like it all has to stick, because every high school that I heard mentioned has wonderful counseling staffs. I work personally with every single one of them. We meet every 2 weeks and talk about new things that are coming up and share things around the district. And each high school is structured differently. I've heard students that are attending CASA and Mesa and Del Campo, which are our block schools. I didn't hear any El Caminos out there, but new to our block schools. Next year will be El Camino. And we also have our traditional schools, Bella Vistas and Miralomas, I think I caught them all that you were going to. Of course, San Juan and Rio Americano are also, and Encina are also traditional calendar schools, which structure is a little different. However, the courses are all the same. The only thing that changes is little specific nuances at each campus, which you'll hear about when you get there. So I'm just going to talk in very generalities of graduation requirements. If your student's aiming for that diploma, what it takes, what the options are for when you get to high school as far as other opportunities, and basically just kind of a little introduction to what high school campuses and how they run. Basically, high school counselors specifically look to the student to pick up kind of the reins of the direction of where they're going. When asking questions about course selection or interests, when we do interest inventories, a lot of times it's questions and information is geared to the students. So I remind parents that your job isn't over. I mean, I got 2 kids through, I got them through high school. And I think partially, especially with my daughter, I got her through college, because your job, and she's 25 and I'm still getting her through adulthood. It's not going to end. I know it's relatable. And you're still needed for support. However, high school is a great transitional time that students can learn the skills to be more independent and make more independent decisions, and be that main point of communication. That's goes without saying that emails are probably going to go to your student's email first before they go to yours. So having a system and a pattern where you check your student's email with your student, get your student's student email login, just to find out, just to kind of be that fly in the wall to help that process along. I think it's a great idea. Build the habit to know what their tools and resources are. We're going to talk a little bit about Naviance. Naviance might be a tool that some of you are familiar with, because some of our middle schools like Carnegie and Sylvan, I didn't hear Sylvan, but Carnegie and Sylvan, I know the counselors there use Naviance quite regularly, and hopefully you've even seen them do a 4-year plan, because our 8th graders have our 8th grade counselors have really done a lot of work in creating 4-year plans with our students. But if not, if this is your first introduction to it, that's okay. I'm going to let you know what the tools are and what it's all about. So let's get started. High school is all about choices and options. And what you do in high school kind of determines what your choices and options are when you leave high school. There's always choices, there's always options, and there's always opportunities. And that's the main thing to remember. It's not oh, well, I'm not going to college because I can't get through IM3. No, there are always options for post-secondary education, whether it be through a CTE or career technical education path, or a community college or a technical school, or there's always opportunities for work and employment. So just know that choices and options are in your future, or your students' future. Yeah, yours too. Okay, so diving in to the graduation requirements. When we say graduation requirements, basically as soon as you hit the ground at high school, every class that you take gives you a little piece of the puzzle. This is for students that are wanting to earn a high school diploma, to get that little piece to make that full puzzle of a graduation requirement. Each subject requires a certain number of credits. You can see we have these sheets that are available to pick up at your high school campuses. And I can even give some to Dale or to Vanessa to pass out or to have available. We have boxes and boxes and boxes of these at our office. So if you need another box, holler, and I'd be happy to ship one your way, Vanessa or Dale, to pass them out. English, social studies, math, science, PE and health, world language, and VAPA, which is visual and performing arts, or CTE, which is career technical education. Those are basically the subjects that students have to take classes in and get a certain number of credits. And once those credits are earned, they get a diploma. So credits, 40 credits. Each year is worth 10 credits. Now, I'm not going to go into the weeds in a block versus a traditional schedule, but the way credits are awarded are different. Block schools award 10 credits, or the equivalent of one course, in half of a year, or one block. Whereas traditional schools will award 10 credits, or the equivalent of a year, in 2 semesters, or the whole year. So you earn credits at different speeds based at a block or a traditional. And because of that, these don't change. They're the same for a block or a traditional. However, block schools do require a higher elective credit to graduate, which is a total of 280 credits, where traditional schools require only 220 credits to graduate. So these are your main core class credit requirements. And then in addition to this, it's electives to equal 220 for a traditional, and then electives to equal 280 on a block. And you'll hear this over and over and over and over again. Your counselors will give grade level presentations to your students, and also in parent nights. So hopefully by the time your student is well into their sophomore year, you'll probably have these committed to memory. The other things to keep in mind is the math. There's 30 credits with the equivalent level of an integrated math 2. I know that seems daunting to a lot of people. However, we do work in support classes, and I know that Vanessa could jump in and support that. We are looking at alternatives to that regular integrated math 2, which possibly alternative math courses in general education classes that have the same level of rigor as IM2, but maybe have more relatable skills that aren't necessarily just that strict integrated math mindset. So by the time your students are seniors, I'm confident that those options will be available. We want to lead everybody to graduation that has that as a goal, for sure. Another key element of our graduation requirements, and these are graduation requirements that are just coming into play for the class of 2023. We elevated our graduation requirements about 6 years ago and phased them in. So it's next year's juniors will be the first class that have these graduations, and then every requirements, and then every class after that. In 8th grade, all of our students will visit with a counselor and create a plan to meet these graduation requirements. And that's the plan that I was talking earlier. I see my dog chiming in. And then they'll revisit that plan again in 10th grade. So if a student is looking like they need more support to meet those graduation requirements, we're going to have those conversations to make sure that that happens. 2 years of a world language, for example, are required to graduate. If that second year of a world language is causing too much of a roadblock in the attainment of the knowledge or the rigor, you could have additional level 1 of a language, and you could change your plan that you first created in 8th grade to kind of fit that course in. There are credit recovery courses available if credits need to be recovered because you weren't able to pass them the first time, and there's also summer opportunities. So there really is plenty of opportunities for every student to reach those levels of rigor with differentiated instructions and modifications and accommodations, so they can earn a high school diploma if that's on their goal set. Okay, so basically this is stuff that I already talked about. Talk to your high school counselor regularly. These are just my tips. Basically, high school counselors are available to help you create a plan and select courses, not only for personal social concerns, because high school counselors have 3 facets: personal social concerns, academic planning, and college and career readiness. So if you have any questions about college and career readiness, your high school counselor is your go-to person. Academic planning or academic interventions, of course, your teachers would support with the specific curriculum, but your high school counselors are there to help support that as well. And then, of course, your course planning and personal social concerns. We wear 3 hats every day. So having a relationship with your high school counselor is key. I used to recommend to my parents that I would work with regularly at Del Campo. Reach out, schedule regular appointments. I mean, sometimes during the year we're busier than others, but most of our, in fact, at Bella Vista, I know they use online scheduling tools. So your students can schedule meetings, that you can schedule meetings, even if it's just a quick check-in. If you have a quick question, email is great. Your counselors really are available. Oh, and the bottom bullet and the tip is, please work with your case managers to invite the school counselors to your IEP meetings. Everybody is very busy, and you talked about how hard it is with COVID scheduling IEP meetings. You're working on juggling so many different schedules. It really is easy to have a case manager schedule an IEP meeting, and then, of course, the counselor's not busy during that time, so they just do kind of a quick flyby with, oh, here's the transcript, here's a quick plan. But if your case manager works with your counselor to find a time that they're available, it's really a benefit, and it's possible, because counselors love to be available to come to IEP meetings. It's a perfect opportunity to talk as a team. This is my first kind of screenshot of what is available in Naviance. Naviance, for those of you that aren't aware, is a college and career planning tool. It also has some personal social assessments. There's some strengths explorers. There's a resume builder. There's Road Trip Nation, where you could research all different careers. You could research all different colleges and types of colleges. One of our counseling interns over at Will Rogers created this great tutorial about how to create a 4-year plan for your high school using Naviance. And you can create high school specific 4-year plans as an 8th grader. You can go in and choose your high school. You can create a plan for each high school. If you're deciding between Casa and Bella Vista, maybe you haven't gotten into Bella Vista yet, you can go see what a plan would look like at Casa, with Casa specific courses, with Casa's course catalog. And then you could open up a plan and do one for Bella Vista and see what that would look like as well, just to kind of to draw and compare and see maybe, oh, well, great, this CTE program is available at Casa. I could go in their SCORE Academy and take this medical assisting course. Well, Bella Vista doesn't have that. Maybe I do want to go to Casa so I could experience this program. And if you go into Naviance and see the course catalogs, it gives you just a little window into what that planning process is like. And also, these are available for our certificate of completion students as well. We are in the process of developing plans that would kind of group courses together and give students that are on on the board of a certificate of completion to kind of see what courses would fit in their recipe for what their 4 years would look at. So they're meeting their goals and achieving the things that they want to achieve. Okay, oh, see, I knew it was going to do that. I don't want to show you. That is linked to that actual video. So when you get a copy of this presentation, which we're going to have available to you, you can go in and see the video and follow it along to create your plan. It even shows you, I think at the beginning, how to access Naviance. They're on the waffle tiles on your Google Drive. So for parents as well as students, if you go to the Google Drive and the little boxes in the top right, the little waffle tiles, if you click on one, Naviance is an option for that. So this is just a slide just to let you know that we have amazing career technical education programs throughout the district. This is also linked to our CTE site, which goes into specifics of what programs are at what particular school sites. Some are, I mean, there's a vast array of opportunities, and some have been very successful with students that have an IEP. Others, there are some requirements that are a little bit more challenging, but we have 2 CTE counselors now that were just hired this year, and their main goal is to do outreach and support students and make sure that they're getting the accommodations and the modifications that they need and working with the teachers to see what's possible. So if you're interested in a particular program, please reach out to me, reach out to my office, and I'll get you in touch with them. And then I have to do a plug for the A through G minimum requirements. Now the A through G minimum requirements, those are the requirements that students need to attain to apply directly to a 4-year school. So people say, oh, well, our grad requirements, they're the A through G requirements. There's similarities, but there are definite differences. If a student wants to apply to Sac State or another 4-year college or a UC right out of high school, they need to earn their A through Gs. So when you hear A through Gs, it's basically 4 years of English, 2 years of history, 3 years of math through integrated math 3, 2 years of a lab science, 2 years of a world language. It has to be a level 1 and a level 2, an art, and then an additional course. And all of these need to earn a C grade or higher. Whereas our graduation requirements, you earn credits with a D grade or higher. All righty, and then these are some great screenshots from Naviance. Naviance, you could see here that this is a screenshot from an Orangeville Open student, Emily Marchant West, who is the counselor there. She assigned a task and said course planner for 8th grade and academic planning and Naviance student. Those are messages that she can send to students through Naviance, and they're clickable links to take you to that part within Naviance. You can see you can explore careers. That's another little screenshot, and look at and save careers that you're thinking about. You can do career interest inventories to see what careers interest you, and that will kind of lead you down an exploratory path of what your options are. There are several assessments like a learning styles inventory, a strength explorer, or the MI Advantage, which is kind of like a Myers-Briggsy little personal social assessment. And these are all things that you can do, that students can do in classroom presentations, do them with their counselors. They can even do them as a part of with their case managers. The options are really endless. And that's all I have to say. A lot of information, I know, that the main thing is just to continue communicating, continue collaborating with all the great resources that are available to you, and ask questions, because we love questions. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Dale.
Thank you, Tracy. Before we transition into the next slide about like diving into transitioning with your student who actually has an IEP, does anybody have any direct questions about anything that Tracy presented while it's fresh in your mind? You feel free to raise your hand, unmute, yell, scream, wave wildly, whatever you'd like.
I have a question.
Sure, Mark.
Thank you. On that, just a couple slides back, you had the graduation requirements, and it had, 2 years and 3 years of language.
Sorry,
and all
I'm
that.
going backwards. Yes.
But on the far, we went past it already. You already went past it.
These are the A through
that
G
one right there.
requirements. Yeah, these are the A through G requirements.
Right, and what's the far right column? The 3 to 4 years, 4 years, 3 to
That
4. What's that?
that's recommended. So these are the A through G requirements. These aren't the graduation requirements. These are the requirements that students need to apply to a 4-year school, where the first column would be the minimum and the second column would be the recommended. It depends on how competitive of a school you want to apply.
Okay, thank you. I thought maybe that's what that was, but thank you
Yeah,
for that.
you got
Thanks.
it. Thank you for asking. I tried to make this slide as simple as possible because they can get very complicated. So this is just, but thank you for asking. That was good question.
Can I
I
ask
have
a
a question.
Oh,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
JD,
Go
go
ahead, JD.
ahead, and then Teresa.
Okay. My
I'm losing
I just
you.
had a question regarding the
Maybe you might want to try putting it in the
Uh,
chat. I can't hear
yeah,
your.
is it how about now?
Yeah,
Oh,
there
that's
you
much
go.
better.
Okay.
You got it.
Yeah, I connected to Wi-Fi by mistake. If your child already has an IEP, does that IEP follow them into 9th grade high school, or do you have to redo anything or anything that's like that?
Yes, it will follow them, and we'll be talking about the IEP process and case management in our next section. Great question, JD.
Okay.
We'll
All
get
right.
to that.
Thank you.
Okay,
Teresa?
Teresa, you're up.
The student planning thing that you just discussed for 8th grade,
Yes.
when will that take place for my student? Do you
Well,
guys have any
it's-
idea?
It's just, where does your student, what middle school does your student attend?
He is at Orangeville Open. I guess they had something the other day, but he missed it because he was sick. So
Okay.
Emily did a thing with the kids, and so
Yeah.
I don't know where I'm supposed to go from here.
Okay, I would definitely reach out to Emily, to Miss Merchant West. She's been diligent. Some middle schools are because we just started rolling out this process in the last couple of years for 8th grade's expectations, and some are a little bit more organized than others. But I know Emily is one that she attends the Naviance planning sessions regularly, so I'm sure she would be happy to work with you.
So they did it yesterday on like a Zoom thing. So I'm
Mhm.
assuming that, I would just get on with her, and would she
Yep.
meet with him, or they just, how does that, do you guys have noticed how this is working?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how she could be doing it in class presentations. She could be setting up individual or small group meetings.
Okay.
If you
I'll
miss
reach out to her
one, I'm
again.
sure, reach out to her again, or she'll probably loop back around with you. Because they've been looking at their statistics very closely, so they want to make sure to hit everybody.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Good deal. Is there anybody else that had a question before we move forward? Okay, so if you can move us to the blue slide there, Tracy. So I'm going to take on the short section in regards to actually having that IEP and moving on to high school. And JD, you opened the door with your question, which is great. Your child's current IEP is the one that, unless they're due for their annual or triannual between now and June, that's the one that's going with them to high school. I do not want you to fear that your current services will look different because I'm going to CASA and that's a block school and the minutes are different. That happens to everybody as they go to transition, right? What's going to be most important is that articulation between your 8th grade case manager moving those students on to high school and you being the one constant in that student's life during that transition. And that's what we're going to talk about right now. You can go ahead to the next one, Tracy. So actually on your student's IEP, for those of you who are gurus with the paperwork, and I have known some of your families for quite a few years, so it's great to that you guys are joining us today. On the actual offer of fate page, right at the very bottom is this activities to support transition section, okay? This is not a section that gets filled out every year, but during 8th grade, it is definitely something that the case managers can fill out because you're going to high school. You know, COVID has kind of changed how we're having like these open houses and tours and all these things, because we're really not having visitors on campus. But that doesn't mean that you shouldn't have access to the online videos that are being presented by the principals and vice principals and counselors at the high schools to welcome the freshmen and get to know your school, right? And some of those are being done also by the students, and it's like being visiting on the day in the life with the kid through the videos. So definitely check your high school websites, because those will be coming if they're not already there. But the information nights are usually focused on the school as a whole, and they're not going to necessarily zero in on the fact that your son or daughter has an IEP and what that means for them. So I'm really glad that you guys chose to come and talk with us today. Go ahead, Trace. So first, I'm going to start with some of your students may be on the track for earning their high school diploma, and others may be in mod severe programming where they might be on a certificate of completion track. And so I kind of want to talk about the two differences. So Tracy talked a lot about high school requirements and A through G requirements, and if your student is actually headed towards a four-year university. When you're earning a high school diploma, earning all the credits is something that is a non-negotiable, right? You have to participate in the class. You need to earn a grade in the class. F's equals 0 credits. F's finally matter when you get to high school, right? And yes, there's opportunity to retake classes. Yes, there's opportunities to take certain things credit, no credit. However, we really want, for least restrictive environment for your student, to be able to participate with their accommodations and modifications in general ed as much as possible. And then we support them based on their IEP and as to whether or not they actually have any courses taught by a special education teacher. Because the difference is that as we're on this track towards a diploma, that high math requirement of 2 years of math, that's there, right? And yes, they're working on something possibly new. Your guys' students are class of 2025, right? My son's right there with you, headed to Bella Vista. And so it may take your student another additional year. We want our kids to get through in 4 years, but sometimes our kids on IEPs, we need to slow down the process just a little bit so that they can get all that they need in order to earn that diploma. But it's really important that if you know that your student, you guys have a plan that you want to head to a four-year university and you need those A3 through G requirements, courses taught by special education are not A through G credit. Okay. And that's an important thing to note. So, if you are a family who is on that track, make sure that your case manager and your counselors are aware of that so that when you're being placed in courses, it's done accordingly. Our students who are on our certificate of completion track typically have a good portion of their day housed within the special education department. And when I say housed, that means at high school, some of our high schools have 11 special education teachers. Some have 8 special education teachers. So it just really depends upon, which campus and how many programs are on said campuses. Del Campo, I heard a couple of folks are going to Del Campo. That's one of our biggest programs is over at Del Campo. They've got a variety of different things over there. So our students who are in mod severe programming most likely will be case managed by a mod severe ILS teacher. And then for their strength areas and inclusive opportunities, they will be out in either general education for classes with support or modifications, or they might be in a special ed mild moderate class for some of their academics. So we really do work with the counselors and the case managers to get them their credits that they need, but they're not on the same regime as they have to earn the same total number of credits, but getting all the 4 years of English and the high level math and all of those things are not the same when you're doing a certificate of completion. When a student is on a certificate of completion track, they are in our system until they're 22 years old. So they would stay at their high school for the traditional 4 years, freshman freshman through senior year. And then they would transition to over here for our 18 to 22-year-olds at Laurel Rough Transition School. And so that's kind of the different path between the level of coursework and expectation on the diploma track versus the more individualized mod severe programming, where there is the independent living skills classes, but there are also opportunities to be mainstreamed or be in mild moderate programs, even if you are case managed through ILS. Yes, Kimber.
I just had a question about alternate diplomas. I know that some other school districts in California offer that, and can you and certificate of completion. Can you tell me a little bit what the difference is, and is there a reason our district doesn't offer one? Or
Currently, our school district does not offer one, and I don't believe there are very many within the state of California. There are some specific things within the law that have to be board adopted. Because you and I had you had mentioned that once before, and so I had did a little bit of research, and I did not find anyone in our area who actually has an alternate diploma. It's here in our neck of the woods of California. It's certificate of completion and diploma only. There are some out of state, but not here. Okay, great question. Next one, Tracy. So the biggest piece in going from middle school to high school is knowing your case manager. So for those of you whose students are mild moderate, so they're resource or they've been in SDC learning disabled programs where they might have half their day with special education teachers and half their day with regular education teachers. When you get to high school, because it is so large and they take so many classes per day, the reality is your student may never have a class with their case manager. Okay, their case manager may be teaching different things, and their directed studies doesn't line up with their case manager. They end up with directed studies with Mr. B instead of who your case managing teacher is. So getting to know them is important. You'll know that at the beginning of the school year, because all of our case managers always introduce themselves to their families, give them their contact information, so that you know who your point of contact is for your child's IEP. Your IEPs happen annually, but you have the right to call one, and it has to happen within 30 days. And so when you are looking at your child's 6-period schedule, we have a lot of Bella Vista folks here, or Mesa's a 4-period-a-day schedule, right? And they may or may not have a special education class that semester or that term, right? So it's important to kind of get to know who's teaching, who the teachers on your student's schedule, and whether or not they've been placed in a general education class or a special education class, so that you're in the know. And what's also important is when you are being in a situation where you're communicating with teachers, looping in that case manager as a CC on the email, so they know what's happening and what your concerns are. Maybe your student's struggle is math, right? And so you're having a lot of dialogue with the math teacher. Looping your student's case manager in so they know what's happening and what they're telling you, and they can chime in for help to help is really a great team effort when it comes to high school. If you're concerned about something, send them an email, put it in writing. You don't have to 10-part detail it in that first email. You can say, hey, I have some concerns. This is my availability. Do you have the opportunity to give me a call, right? Here's the thing. High school teachers are teaching 5 periods a day or 3 periods a day on that block. They have this much time for prep, right? And they're not like on their email. I mean, we're hoping we're going to be back to, a situation where kids are all in building at some point next year, right? And they're not really having as much access to their computer and how available they are right now, because a lot of things have been happening via Zoom. So give them a little chance to follow up. Back in the day when your students were in elementary school and they had that single case manager, they were really Johnny on the spot for you, I'm sure. But in high school, things, they will respond to you. Just sometimes there is just a little bit more of that delay. And then your students have accommodations and modifications in their IEPs. The great news is that our system with SACE, the paperwork that your case manager fills out, it talks to the mainframe computer for the district, which is called Q. And every teacher that your student has can they can see that your student has an IEP, and they can push a button and bam, right there, it tells them all the accommodations and modifications that are on your student's IEP. So it's available to them. You have to remember, how many student contacts does a high school teacher, general education teacher have, Tracy? Is it 160 something, right?
The limit is 165.
165 student contacts, right? So I don't think that on the first 2 days of school, every general education teacher has gone through and seen every blip to know that your child has accommodations and modifications. If you are that passionate parent that is super worried, you need to talk to that case manager, send them an email and say, hey, I just want to make sure that my son or daughter's teacher has been given the accommodations that they need so that they can get started on a great year, right? And then back it up and let them do it, right? We have to try and trust that process, right? We're becoming a team as a freshman year, right? We're coming in, we don't want to come in too hot. We want to come in and say, hey, I'm your team member, but we also want to give your case managing teacher that opportunity to learn about your kid, figure out what their schedule is, and figure out how you guys communicate so that you guys can have an amazing year. Is there any questions about case management before I go on to the next slide?
Can I just ask one question, Dale? Sorry.
Sure, Teresa, no problem.
You said the annual and triannual, if your kid has not had done, my son has had major anxiety this year, and he has sensory issues too. So he did not have it done going into the school because school was shut down. He's staying home right now because we're dealing with the whole sensory stuff right now. How is that going to affect him if he hasn't had that done before he goes into high school? Can you answer that?
Well, every student has to have an IEP at some point. So it may have been, testing may have been delayed or anything like that. So I know we're going to be working very hard this summer to get things caught up because the pandemic really did do a number on us, you know, in regards to getting all the assessments that, you know, some of our students needed done, you know, in this time frame. But we can absolutely, I'll connect with your program specialist and look on the back end to make sure that you're in compliance going forward. Don't you worry.
Okay, yeah, because he didn't do the triannual. It was just overload for him. It was either meltdown or keep him going.
Yep.
And
no,
so we kind of
totally get that.
we pushed it. Thank you.
Vanessa,
Tracy, I have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so did you mention that the IEP in high school will have to be held within 30 days of school start?
No, your annual date for your student stays the same. So if you have your meeting every year in February, it's still in February. But if you have concerns and you want the IEP team to gather, but prior to that annual date, you have a right to call for an IEP, and they will meet within 30 days. But my recommendation is let your team get to know your kid. It's very hard to meet someone that you only know on paper and it's been 2 days of school, right? We have to kind of have that opportunity to see where their classes are. And I'm not saying like let them drown and wait until November, but you know, give it the first few weeks of August. And then if there's concerns, you know, you can throw the lifeline out there and say, hey, I'd like to just at least meet with the case manager. It doesn't have to be formal. You can just check in with the case manager and say, hey, are things okay? Are we dialed in? Okay.
That was my follow-up question, actually, because mine is usually done around first week of September. And my question is, do they have to have a little discussion with the previous case manager just so that they know? Because 4 weeks is not enough to know the kid, right?
Right.
So
But the
get in
great part,
touch or
yeah. So the great part about the end of the year is all students are supposed to have their progress on goals completed. And so that will be in the system. So they will know how your student finished the school year based on their goals and objectives. And so they can use that data. They can absolutely reach out, and most of them do reach out to the former case manager because it's very clear in the system who was their previous teacher to get some information. But really an IEP in September, high school moves like this. It's fast. They're either turning in their assignments and participating in class, or they're not. And the teacher's going to be able to tell you whether or not they are, doing well enough, because, they really do hit the ground running because of the amount of curriculum and materials that the high school teachers are pushing through. So I wouldn't worry too much, Ms. Felipe, but I think that, you always have the right to say, I'd like to see further information at that next progress check if grades aren't going as well. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else question about case management? Okay.
James, did you have a question? It looked like you had a question.
Jim, no? Okay, good deal. So the next one, Tracy. I'm big on building independence. So high school, we've got these 14-year-olds with attitude, right? Have you met them? Yeah, they're in your house, right? So they don't want mom and dad always over their shoulder. We have to use that to our advantage in high school. We want them to start building the skills that they're going to need to be able to be prepared for either college, the work world, or just being a more functional individual in your home. Okay, so for our kids, we want them to use either use the planner, a daily planner, so that they can write down their homework assignments. If they're tech savvy, they can type them into their Chromebook or whatever it is, tablet that they're bringing to school. Teachers that write assignments on the board, tell them to snap a picture of it. They don't have to write it all down, right? But there should be no excuse that you don't know what the homework is. I think the one thing that the pandemic did for us with Zoom and Google Classroom is teachers have found it's a very nice way to assign assignments and get them completed, and without a lot of paper going back and forth, right? So I would expect that some of those things would continue as we move forward into high school for your kids. Making your kids accountable, right? We want them to be successful, yes, but we need to put some onus on them to make sure that they're getting up in the morning, they're getting to class on time, they are not tardy, right? Because those things matter in high school, right? It was a lot of practice in middle school, but in high school, some of those teachers, they don't play around, right? You need to be in your seat, ready to work at the bell. And yes, your son or daughter may have accommodations to work through those things, but a good life skill for work in general is you're showing up for work on time, ready to go when your shift starts, right? It's really an important skill that we want to start building with them. One of the things that I really want to explain is that we don't expect our kids just to know what to do. We need to teach them, and we need to help them practice, and we need to coach the little things of what that you need them to do, and then let them try and be successful on their own, right? And so, I took this from it's teach, practice, coach, practice, play the game, but for school, it's let them try. These students who, just because they're on IEPs, can build themselves up and be more successful and learn to advocate for themselves as you give them their voice. And so if you're teaming with that case manager and on the back end, you're able to let them know what's happening, and you expect John to turn in the signed assessment plan for his triennial, and it's handwritten, and he's supposed to drop it off at his case manager's classroom, shoot an email and say, hey, that's on its way, and then expect John to get it there, right? That's one of those things. Is like, how do we help them build those skills necessary so that when they leave high school, whether they're headed to, like Tracy said, college, career, work, military, or if they're on a certificate of completion and they're coming my way and we're building them up ready for a regional center program, it's all going to be in what we do together as a IEP team. And as you know, you're in the driver's seat of that team. Okay. And so really, we just wanted to open it up for any questions. As a reminder, this is a meeting that is being recorded, so we don't want to necessarily get too deep into your own individual students' needs, but we are more than happy to give you a contact information so that, or hang on later when the recording's over if you have something specific that you really need to say tonight. But is there any general questions about going to high school, how to contact someone, who your program specialist is, what, or anything like that, that we can help you with tonight?